Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Dale, the Mayor Pro Tem, and we're going to get the meeting started here. It's about 7 minutes after 5. I'll call the meeting. Before I do, I will ask that Councilman Chappelle, if he would, to lead us in a word of prayer, followed by the pledge. Again, good evening. Thank you for being here. I'll call the meeting to order. We have a workshop agenda prior to our regular council meeting here at 6:30. So item 1 here is to discuss proposed development in the city in the general vicinity of the city sports complex north and south, and discuss the possibility of the extension of a water line from the north water tower to properties north of the city's sports complex, and possibly extension of a sewer line to support this development. At this time, we'll welcome Robert to the podium to address us.
Councilman, Mayor Pro Tem, tonight we wanted to conduct this work session. We've been working with Mr. Brian Capps. He's with Capco Engineering, and he's been conducting some analysis for us on the north end of town, north and south of the sports complex. As you're aware, last year, so the staff was sort of asked to start proceedings on annexation to try to get the sports complex as it was nearing completion. Since it was not in the city limits, it was something we were going to start doing, and we'd gotten approval of a couple of the. There was basically the Masonic Lodge out there, and and the Illuminate. They had already sent in voluntary annexation letters to us prior, probably back in 2018, actually, when this sports complex started, but the city at that time didn't take any action on moving forward. So Mr. Thatcher sort of asked staff to start doing that. And just about the time we were trying to get the Illuminate on board, we started looking at a bigger area around when we found out that Illuminate was actually going to start selling property up there, that we started to look at what it might be better for the city to look in a larger area up there as far as annexation was concerned, not just the sports complex, but possibly those areas north. Sort of the timing was just at the event when we had a developer come in, that there's an area up there called Deer Park that's an old subdivision that's been up there for many, many years, and were houses there at one time, but the houses were Illuminate bought the property, and Illuminate took the houses out. And we, through some investigation, we think they may have taken some of the utilities out, but there actually is some sewer that was still there that I'm not sure yet if it's a usable thing. But we know at one time it looked as though the city had run service lines up there, had water and sewer up there. Yes. Yes. Yeah, it appeared that at one point that there was sewer that came out of this development right here and came back down. Where it tied into, I'm not clear. We do have a lift station over here, but there was water up there at one time also. Well, there's the existing sewer. There's a lift station, Mr. Capps, that's right in here, and we sewer some of this area that's here, and we take it down to another lift station that's down, I think close to Town Lake down there in that area, and that's where. And there's some sewer that we'll discuss that where there are the other sewers over here on Green Hill Road that's the ability to tie into that area. So no, it's there. That's what's probably prompted this more. We've had ownership has changed. We have Illuminate still owning the large portion of it, but in addition to that, They own that, all that area up north of this road right here. But then there's been, Steve Capps has bought a portion of land there, and we also have another owner that's bought another portion. In addition to that, there's been some other sale of another, or is in the process of another strip of land. Also, on the south side, this 30-acre strip, 35-acre strip here has been sold by Luminant also. So we have, at this point, we've got three different potential developers that will want to develop this property for residential uses. So with that being said, that's what sort of stopped the process when we started seeing that there was a change in ownership, and Luminant was on board with having more of their property annexed after we asked them. Then they started selling the property, so we had to kind of start looking at analysis of what we could do. And in addition, that existing subdivision that's there, that was an existing subdivision, that this area here called Deer Park, the streets are still in, and they're still usable. So that developer wanted to get started. He's actually already started building houses up there. He'd prefer that, he was on city water, and they prefer to be annexed, and they've already asked for voluntary annexation. In addition to the a newer owner that has just come in south of there, they've asked for annexation. Illuminate folks, again, they want asked for, they're okay with voluntary annexation. They've signed off on that. There's the other piece that we're just not quite there yet, but I think we will be, is this piece here. I think he's 90% assured that he's going to ask for annexation. We just got to clear that up. And then the park property. So that's about 35 acres, Jesper, 35 acres. That's the 35 acres. That's the 30. That's that piece that's right there. Oh, I'm sorry. This piece. Okay, we've talked to the owner on that one. He did come in and talk about annexation, and we'll discuss that more. He was concerned. He wanted to see about sewer was one issue. There may be more of a challenge with him for sewer there than we can. After Brian discusses that with you tonight, he probably can do it. I'm not heard back from him. I gave him the option. He has the ability to build a few homes right across this county road right now. We've kind of cleared that with TriSud to allow him to do that, and then he was wanting to develop. The only thing that we've seen possibly. I'm not sure where he's at with that. I'll be honest with you, I did see something on the real estate market that the property was up for sale. So I don't know that his intent is to do it himself or maybe have somebody else do it. We can, and I will give him that option again to consider it, because it would behoove him to be on some city service at this moment, at least city water for sure. And he can also, if he gets into the city, he'll be able to do bigger, smaller lots, and it would allow more area there. So with that being said, I think I'll turn it over to Brian and let him kind of talk about this analysis.
That one there, a little better. How long do you need to hold it? Have to keep my finger on it when I'm talking. Really? Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. No, that's okay. I'll lean on it. Of course, y'all all know Steve originally bought the old Deer Park subdivision. Had to have 3 cul-de-sacs in it. And he wanted me to look at the engineering of getting the sewer system back operational. Yeah, he's the ugliest brother of the Capps family. Yeah, I'm obviously the best looking one of the Capps family. He wanted me to get that sewer system back working. I have a construction company. We do municipal construction all the time. We lay water lines, sewer lines, street drainage. We build sewer plants, water plants, all that good stuff. So I actually sent my construction guys out, and we popped lids on all these manholes we could find, and we traced it out as best we could. And like you're saying, it runs down that old 271 right away, and it's junk. The pipe in that old sewer main. Does not meet current standards at all. It's thin wall. You can actually see it in one of the creek crossings there, and it's just broken all to pieces. It looks like a corrugated underdrain type pipe. It's something they let slide, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, however long that was. And it's no good. It's inoperable. And all it would really serve is those 3 cul-de-sacs at that Deer Park subdivision. And so Steve had, he had these other lots that we drew in around those, some additional illuminant land that he had purchased, and those would be new streets. And at the same time, Jace came in and started talking to us about designing his subdivision down here by the water tower. And then the city asked us to analyze the lift stations that the sewer would go in, the Grand Oaks and Left Witch, and you'd be pumping that sewer 3 times to get it to the plant. So, we got to looking at it and say, Jace would need a lift station on the north side of his property. His property flows north. Steve would need a lift station on that southeast corner of his property eventually. And I'm like, well, we're going to have lift stations out there everywhere. We're going to be pumping the same sewer over 4 or 5 times. It's not a good thing. So we started looking at more of a regionalized setup of being able to build 1 lift station, serve both developments, the city park, and hopefully eliminate the lift station at Grand Oaks. That's that lift station straight across from the entrance of the sports complex. Yeah. So we'd eliminate an old lift station. We would bring it down to a new regional lift station right there, and that opens up a huge amount of service area that you could serve. All the purple areas are undeveloped tracks. The holes in the areas you see, that's pretty much what we claim, what we would say is already developed land. You're probably not going to see it develop much more than what it is now. I mean, it's something you could have a little bit here and there, but the purple areas are really pasture land, good developable tracts of land that could be gravity flowed, sewer service gravity flowed to this new regional lift station. Overall, it's about 1,400 acres. That's a lot of people. Could be a lot of houses. You start looking at 9,000 square foot lots for city sewer type services. You're talking probably 3.5 lots per acre. So times 1,400, 3.5 times 1,400, that's a lot. Could be a lot of people. That sewer coming out of that regional lift station, instead of taking it over to the lift stations on 271 and repumping that sewer, we were going to take a force main out of it, run down to the rodeo grounds. There's a larger gravity sewer lift station, or larger gravity lines over there that I don't believe go through another lift station going to the sewer plant. Yeah, there's a rodeo grounds right over here. The lift station, and this is we've already changed the location from this. The new lift station would be sitting around in this area here. So it's just, I mean, it overall, long term, it's a lot better design. It's going to serve a lot more people. You're going to eliminate that lift station across from the sport complex. We can eliminate it, Bournemouth Road, take all the sewer that goes to it straight to this new regional lift station. Yeah, we will. We sure will. We'll just rebore it, and that old lift station will crush it in, tie a new manhole in, take it to the park. City owns the land already. Looks like you got plenty of power there. I mean, you've got facilities there, everything you need. And you won't be repumping that same sewer through other lift stations that are too small to start with. I mean, we've already looked at these. We've briefly looked at them. You start putting that much sewer in them, you're going to be upgrading those lift stations again. So, yeah, it's okay. Let off.
No, that's, so first question, would any of the existing smaller lift stations be decommissioned?
Not all of them. The one at Grand Oaks, we can decommission it. And the flow that currently goes to Grand Oaks now goes to Leftwich and then goes to, what's the name of the other lift station? It goes to 2 other lift stations. So we'll be reducing the flow on those lift stations and eliminating Grand Oaks lift station.
And then on the proposed regional lift station, it will support growth in all the pink you showed for future growth, and will it support any additional future growth beyond the pink?
That's a good question. We can design it different ways. We can design it to where it can be easily expanded in the future. Some cities, they'll say, okay, we're going to build it for 1,000 acres of potential growth. Once we get to that point, our pumps are probably going to be worn out. We need to upgrade it anyway. And some will say, well, we're going to let the developer of this other big tract, let them participate in the upsizing. But there are a lot of different ways you can do it. In the long run, if it's going to save you money, it may not. Right now, we could put smaller pumps in a large wet well and put the small pumps in it. It won't cost you near as much electricity. It'll work a little more efficiently. As you get more flows, then we can upsize those pumps.
One thing that we've done here that y'all have done before, and one thing Brian just said, is build the wet well to handle a lot, but you put smaller pumps in it because there's not a lot going into it. And then as you expand it, you may have to upsize the pump, but you don't have to redo the whole thing. Although they're only good for the life of them is 20 years or so. I mean, you got to redo a lift station every once in a while too.
So
And a lot of them last longer than others, and a lot of good goes with that too.
The wet well itself eventually deteriorates, but it's a long time. So you can change the pumps as it gets, if you build a bigger one, you change the pumps out of it.
So, question though, with that said though, if we build it starting off with smaller pumps, and then as time goes, add more bigger pumps, will the existing plumbing you put in support that? What size line pipe are you planning to put in to support future growth without having to come back later and dig or bore more, pipe?
That will happen in the design. There'll be some decisions we have to make in the design, and I have seen instances where the cities will lay 2 lines in the same ditch, one with the small pipe and then one with the big pipe, and they plug the big pipe. When the time comes, they're going to switch the flow. So there's a lot of decisions like that to be made during the design of it.
And to look at, because we may also have some annexation there. I can see down 1314 there, back toward going back to the to the north there, in front of the sports complex down that road there. Even back to that Meadowbrook division there, I could see at some point in time that might even be grabbed. Back there, that was kind of a buffer zone for aluminum years ago. That's just right up Green Hill Road. You know what I'm talking about? And there's land between that and the sports complex there that could be developed down through there by the creek and on up to the Methodist Church there. Did we look? Comes to my mind, so I'm asking and thinking about it. The water going up 271 north in the tower. You'd look at switching it over into the electrical easement rather than running up the highway. And I'm wondering, are we thinking that any time if we ran up the highway, here it kind of shows it going up the highway, I think. Is that on the electrical easement? It's pretty close all the way up. Because I think one time we get up there, we may want to bore under and tie in over here. I'm not sure do we serve up in there right now? Yeah, cleaned right there. But I mean, some of this is not in the city limits here. Some of it is, some of it isn't. But this is on the west side of a lot of it's it's in Tri-Sud, I know. But we may want to annex it someday and serve it, so we may want to loop that line under the highway, is what I'm thinking.
triangular part there, you know, we could gravity flow it. But I think it would be pretty easy to run down between these houses, and you just have to secure a few easements, and you could gravity flow that triangle pretty easy. It'd go to that new regional lift station, sure would. Right now, it could surely go to the Grand Oaks lift station, but we'll tie it right out and take it straight to that regional one. Yeah, you would think that's gonna be commercial. You would think they're gonna need some kind of fire protection. If it's a gas station or a kitchens or anything like that, they're gonna need fire protection. They'll want it.
Isn't there already easements, utility easements there? I know in Point North where I live, before it was ever annexed in the city, when it was still in the county, we had 10-foot utility easements already drawn into the plats.
You'll see a lot of that. You'll have franchise utility easements. Sewer main, it's gonna need to be what the creek is. And that creek is running behind those houses. It goes in. Most of it's going behind the houses. You got plenty of room. I think there's plenty of room to put a gravity main through there. Just have to negotiate some easements. Like you were talking about earlier, and this was the gravity flow area, the 1400. Who knows what's going to happen in Illuminate farther north, and they'll be the lift station, and they'll be, you know, trying to pump over into this system, and you always have that issue.
We'd like to, the reason we're showing you this, we'd like to kind of find out if you guys give us the nod to go ahead and start looking at a project to do this, at water and sewer in this area, and then, of course, bring it back to you. We think we probably have the money. Right now we have an opportunity to have a private-public partnership with developers there so that they pay part of it and we pay part of it. We think we have the funds that we could do this, to do our part without having to, and of course some of that information will be later on tonight, but we have the funds without having to go out for bonds or to go out, raising rates and stuff. So we think we have the money to do this, but we didn't want to go too much further now than to show you this and say that's where the growth is going. Developers are wanting to buy that, buy up that land and put houses in there, even south of the parking. You maybe mentioned that while I was gone. That area is going to develop quickly, and what we don't want to do is have them go on to tri-stud water, and then we have to buy those meters back from them when we annex, and they're on small lines. They need to have fire protection when they come into the city. I'm looking here, one of those tracks is 68, a little over 68 acres, another one's about 23 acres, is that right?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. I really could. He's trying to buy a little bit more on the east side. And we were talking to him about this neighbor not really wanting to participate in the sewer easement. He went ahead and started looking at, we're talking to Limit about purchasing another 40 acres through here, just far to be able to get the city sewer.
So the two smaller lift stations that we would decommission, what's the condition of those? Are they still got, working parts that we could repurpose for spares or to have, or relocate to another location that might need it for a smaller need?
Maybe. We're really only decommissioning one, the Grand Oaks lift station. We're just reducing the flow off the other two farther south of it. You'll have pumps in the Grand Oaks lift station. You can take those out, put them on the shelf, use them as a spare, back up for some of your other lift stations. You have to be careful with that, so they're really designed for that specific head pressure that they're pushing against. But they'll do it in a bind. You need it, you can get it using a bind. I've been talking with Jace doing this other track down here, and he's been back and forth, small lots, large lots. We've laid this thing out from everything 2 acre lots to 9,000 square foot lots. And we're working on a layout now for 1 acre lots, and I'm trying to instill in him he's going to need water and sewer from the city. He came from, DeKalb, somewhere in that area. Yeah, he's clearing it right now, burning, but he wants to proceed, progress. Yeah, he's moved here now. Mm-hmm. Yep. But I'm trying to get him on board. He needs water and sewer from the city. It's going to be so far ahead.
So Brian, just educate me here. So we decommissioned Grand Oaks, you said? So in a situation like that, when you decommission a lift station, do you typically put the area back to like it was normally, or do you rip out all the electric and all that stuff, or do you leave stuff there for maybe you have to come back in the future to do something? And what typically do you do when you decommission a lift station?
When you said a partnership with some private, what percentage of it would be covered? And do you have any even rough figures for this project? Just something off the cuff.
We've talked about it, and we haven't got it down, but I mean, for example, we talked about a water line that we thought would cost, I don't know, $400,000 or $500,000. They were going to pay 200 or 250,000 of it, and I mean, it's going to cost them so much that what we looked at is what it's going to cost them to go to TriSud and have the water lines put in stuff, and it's $200,000+ to do that. They would pay that to us, and we would put the water in.
It's just that, and this was something I might bring up tonight during our regular meeting, is as everybody knows, we are just in some of the most unstable economic times and things that I've ever seen in my 60 years. That, it's just daily, these costs are just killing us. And it's, for me, it's hard to plan even small projects. I talked to a roofer last week. He said, get your shingles before April share, they're going up. We got price increases last week, 10% on a lot of our bigger items. Isn't it hard right now for anybody to even really get close on that? And if they're in, it's just so, I guess I'm just a scaredy cat, but I think things are very hard to plan right now. Well, I think we've got a big sewer plant coming up, $35 million. We haven't even really started that yet. And I'm afraid that we're going to have more costs. I mean, things have gone up so much since we got our bond on that thing. I'm all for growth, so the money has to come from somewhere. So that's always my concern.
Right now it's a guessing game. The parts have gone up, and a lot of our stuff isn't so much the cost, it's availability. Yeah, we were told a couple weeks ago, if you order a fire hydrant today, you'll see it in December. Well, we're trying to get as many fire hydrants in our yard as we can. There are subdivisions we see coming, just buying everything we can. Yeah. A lot of the steel's going up, and it's hard to guess it. It is. I'm trying to be conservative as much as I can. A lot of these projects with a lot of labor in them. I mean, it's not like you're spending $100 spending a $2,000 part. It's your labor is more than your material cost is on a lot of these. The pumps, we really hadn't seen a huge amount of price jump in pumps. Your fittings and fire hydrants, that kind of stuff. PVC pipe has gone up quite a bit, so that's a good one. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, we had a large jump in PVC pipe because the resin factories had shut down. There's 4 of them in the United States, 2 of them were down. One of them was COVID, the other one was just a major malfunction. And that just caused a huge short in resin. But that has come down some from where it was. It did a lot better.
Okay, so y'all have obviously platted out some of this. How many service addresses are we talking about just in this one subdivision that we're looking at on this piece of paper?
Up there by Cedar, I want to say that was like 100 and, yeah, the existing on Cedar Park, that's right. Oh, on that entire block? Oh, it's 150 or so. Yeah, it's a good amount. Now, Jason's down here, he can get 60 or 70 easily in that one too.
And what's your what's an estimated or projected build out time for them?
It's always market driven, but Steve is anxious to get started. He's ready. He's already jumping on me to get the design going.
And the one thing in my mind, we are house short, so I didn't know if we were. I mean, is in y'all's mind, are we thinking at least the original portion to be pretty? When you say quick, I don't mean like next week, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. It's pretty quick, but maybe even the outline area. Are we talking about 7-8 years out or 10 years out?
Yeah, Steve he's kind of waiting on this decision. He's ready. He's ready to start putting some houses on the ground because he knows there's a lot of jobs coming up here in town, and they're going to need some affordable housing. And I say affordable, I'm saying not cheap. I'm saying affordable, and they're still going to be nice houses. He's ready to roll. He understands that, and he's ready to put some money down.
In fact, he's building 4 or 5 right now based on hooking up to. We have water there, or is that going to be tri-state water up on those 4 or 5? Yeah, so they're waiting to find it out. Those houses are being built now, and they're already or they've already got names on them. You know how it is. If they can build them, they're buying them as fast as they can. So we kind of came in and said, they're going to be in the city limits. We don't want you to go to tri-state. We want to get a water line up there, and we need them on sewer too. So it's kind of. A year or so ago, I think we did maybe 25 or 30 permits a year or 40 permits a year. And to think that if we had these lots on the ground, they'd be selling like this, So we're kind of getting a little behind the curve.
And back to
I don't, because he's building the houses too. I don't know what he's allocating for his lots. I told him to stop. He was out there building. I said, stop. We don't know what we're doing yet. You know where you're getting water? Don't know. Just stop what you're doing. So he's got these where he can put those on half-acre tracts and use aerobic systems. But he's waiting on water. He's, as far as I know, he's waiting on a decision. If it's a no-go with the city, he's going to run tri-sud, half-acre lots, and be done with it. If it is a go, we're going to separate the water project out separate from the sewer project and get that water project going as fast as we can to serve those houses up there. And he wants to have all his subdivision built out, his sewer stubbed out. So whenever we run up to the city sewer main up there, we're tying into him. I don't know if I can do it that fast.
They've all asked for annexation, and so we want them on sewer, and we don't want them on tri-sud. We want them on our water. So that's kind of why we thought we'd better over and see if that's something we can get after.
so
We'll have to, we do the plans and specs. That's almost done, right? Or not? No, the plans and specs aren't done, but the study on it's done. We got to do the plans and specs and then bid it out. So it'd be, I don't know, it'd be 7-8 months.
on the water project. We've got to put plans and specs together, bring it out to y'all, approve the project, advertise it, put it out to bid. Another month, we're gonna get the contractor out there started on it. Yeah, it's gonna be a while. It is.
Well, hopefully by that time, the issue with windows will be resolved. Because we're working on a project at work right now, we're doing a remodel, and the windows are holding us up from getting it into complete dry. We can't get the windows. And the same thing's happening with some of these new home builds and remodels. They cannot get the windows to finish up to a certain point so the next subcontractor can come in and do his part. So it's unbelievable.
We've got some developers in town, in Tyler, that they build the first house. They don't sell it. It's stacked full of windows. All their windows are stacked in for the entire subdivision. It's full of all the windows they're gonna be using for the rest of the house.
Well, I'm obviously, I can see the potential of the need for the growth, and if we're gonna annex, we need to annex now, while we got one owners, single owners on each piece of property, and possibly, if we take it out, if Mr. Capps would, extend that, he's, of course, you said he's talking about buying some other pieces, but that would be further growth, so I'm for absolutely looking at coming up and giving us some cost ideas, and I'm for going forward with it based on what the costs tell us.
Well, since they've all said yes, what's the time on the annexation?
Well, I think the answer is the city, it's going to be with the city council that they want to be annexed. The annexation, they voluntarily asked for it, but they want to know if they're going to get one. When does it go? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can start. I was going to suggest that if I get a positive answer from this council about their willingness to look at doing this, then we could start we got to do a resolution. We got to come back to you. It's a 30-day process. I can bring that resolution to you, and maybe by that time we've got some of this cost estimate to talk about. And if you're willing to do that, then we'll bring it to you. Yeah, well, I think we could probably get it done if we got started on it. My biggest problem is I got to get the description done. We kind of put the brakes on that, but I think we could get it done by June for sure. It says, well, you don't annex, you can annex 10% of your land area, but that can be cumulative. If you don't annex that one calendar year, you can add that to the next year. So we could get 20%. We could certainly annex this area. And again, it doesn't really matter if it's voluntary annexation, no amounts of any consequence. So we don't have a problem with the area whatsoever. The big key issue to get this off the ground too is, like Mr. Cap said, is if we know we can run water up there to get that other part. He has 5 houses already being built up there, and they're pretty nice homes up there. I think it'll start the character of that whole area up there, and it's all already prompted people just within the last 2 weeks. People looking at buying the rest of that Luminant property. They're wanting to grab it, so it's coming. It's definitely coming.
I don't believe he has the intention of doing that. Most of the time it's just for a gated type subdivision. I don't think he's going to do that. One of the things we're seeing, I'm not sure if this area is the same way, but the postal service won't let you put a mailbox in front of your house anymore. On these new subdivisions, you have to put a gang box up there. Put a gang box up, and just that gang box in itself kind of forces you to have an HOA. Somebody's got to be responsible for that mailbox, and it's not going to be the post office. Yeah, that's right, a big group of mailboxes.
They're even doing that in all over the major cities and that. In big old subdivisions, you got to go down the street to get your, yeah, post office. Robert, you got about 12 minutes for the other item.
Any other questions from the council? All the new ones going forward will be to city specs and all that. Brian, we appreciate you. If there's no other comments from the question from the council, then thank you, Brian, for being here, and we'll definitely take this into consideration and give it a good look. Welcome back, Robert.
Part two. We'd like to just give you a brief update about the comprehensive plan and where we're at with that. I put those maps over there. I put them at your lectern up on front. You know, I tried to get them to you this weekend. We got something kind of foul on the thing, but you didn't get them early. But one of the maps, the map over here on this corner is the land use map. That's the future land use. We've gone through and did the existing land use, and then from that, sort of studied this and did some tweaks on it and tried to come up with what we felt like was areas that we felt that, you know, were needed to be continued to be industrial, and things out on south of the interstate. If you go up north to the east, areas there that we continue some of the industrial development and commercial development, but then along the interstate. So we also looking at the interstate about doing some of this more what we're calling a retail type, not quite a mixed use development, but a retail type development, kind of securing that. Some of the stuff is not developed yet to kind of make sure that happens. Some area up to the north where you see that sort of color there. Over here we did with what was potential Anderson development, we are calling that a sort of a mixed use development, lining that out. There's other areas of some mixed use that we're trying to put in along the interstate. Makes the most sense to have those areas. A little bit to the north along that 271. Probably not much to the south. It's pretty much established, you know, where you've got industrial development. We're kind of leaving that to where it is. However, though, we did take pockets between these and along this loop road, try to designate that as more commercial development, so we could kind of buffer some of that and in certain areas along those corridors, so you would continue to get some commercial development and not be strictly just industrial development there. Again, some of out here. Yeah, that's just some more. It's a little. That's the 40 acres out there that's in that area there that would be more mixed use. Up here. Yeah, that's more of a kind of trying to capture a retail, commercial retail development in that area, and some more of it along this interstate. Up here? Yeah. Well, we felt like that it has already sort of developed to a certain degree. That's questionable to a certain point, but most of the things that are located along there already sort of, kind of gotten a light industrial touch to it already, you know. Yeah, and so Vicky Baker's property, mostly of this area here. Now along this other roadway that comes across here, that we tried to still establish some commercial development there, as it is. No, this is an ETJ right there. I think that the line's coming across right here. You can see it right there. And then south of it, that little area there. The triangle's back down here. No, the truck stop is, yes, across the street over Chubby's. There was, what's that called, John? Cubby's. Chubby's. Chubby's, Cubby's. You're out there, yeah. I think that's what Tri said, yeah. It's on sewer, though. It's on our city sewer. So it's in our city. We annexed it, as you recall. So that part is, that's true.
What I think we should consider is that area that's out there that we don't have water, we should plan on trying to put water there. But in the meantime, stop the building out there until we've got utilities. Because we've got quite a mess out there with people. Well, it also, we need to answer what we're going to do in the comp plan, what we want out there. But and they're nice metal buildings and so forth, and it's all right. But having them be in the city and not on the water and putting septic system in there and so forth, it just makes a mess that we're going to have to clean up later on. And I'm thinking that we need a water line north and sewer, but we also need some out that way or stop the building. Well, that's a policy we can make. A lot of cities will say, what sewer is available? Go ahead. The city policy will be give them 3 to 5 years, or a lot of times those septic systems are good for 15 years or something before they. So if somebody just put one in, but councils that I've worked with in the past aren't really quick to say you got to go on right away, but give them time, and if it starts failing, then they pay to go on. But that's why, like if you're outside the city limits and you are on our water, which somehow that's happened in the past or something like that, then they want to get on the sewer. We've got some like that out there. And we've told them now there's some that want to get on the sewer, and sewer's available, but we're telling them you can't come on unless you ask for annexation, and then we'll let you on. And we've got one that gave us an easement across their property to put sewer in, and of course the city paid to put the sewer in. They didn't, but we're not allowing them any building that wants sewer unless that's in. I believe no, they're not in the city limits. They got to be in the city limits before to do that. We really want to, have that be a hard line thing, because otherwise you just make a mess out there that we're going to have to pay for and clean up when we get there. But it's really, people are wanting to build up on that corridor one after another out there.
In the water, what we were, that Justice Department, when it was out there, on the loop, the thing we did with this council was we had them sign a facilities agreement that said when sewer, we're talking about timing, when it became within 150 feet of them, they've got to sign an agreement that says they will hook on at that point. And they agreed to that. So we're thinking all new development probably needs to go that way. If we can't get the sewer there, which obviously takes longer. But the biggest problem is this water issue, especially out there where Mr. Thafter's talking about. They had a 2-inch out there and it's already tapped out. Even Tri-City didn't have enough water out there for the commercial. They don't have any fire protection. We're sort of defeating our purpose. If they're in the city, they ain't no fire hydrants. They got nothing out there. And what we're saying is that we think we should at least take a breather or some development, say, let us get our ducks in a row in terms of what we can do as far as water is concerned. And then if you want to build, we'll have a plan. And it may be, too, that they have to participate. And that's been the other issue. If they haven't wanted to participate.
When we bring them into the city, we'll have to have fire hydrants. Well, that's not even a question.
And not recently, we had a ETJ property that we worked with subdividing. It was going to be an ETJ. It's already happening. No, this is over by Tankers Lake. But when we had a discussion with Tri-City, we told them, the policy needs to be from this point on, any new development that's at least in our ETJ, develop residential lots or whatever, that you've got to upsize the lines that you're going to bring out there. So they agreed to do that, put a fire hydrant in. Now, what we said, we didn't know how much clout we had on the fire hydrants necessarily, because they don't really have the pressure to meet the fire code problem. But working with the fire department, they said at least if we start out getting you on one side of the road, you get a fire hydrant in, like say every 1,000 feet. Then when development does come into the city, we do have the pressure there that we can go back in and get those hydrants where we need to place them. But if we don't do that, then we're not getting anything out of this deal. And they've agreed to that. So TriSet has agreed to any new development in our ETJ that they will upsize those lines to 8-inch minimum, and then they will put some fire hydrants in for us, even if they're not readily usable at that time in the ETJ. And that's kind of the policy. We got to have that, and that's kind of the same rollover policy we need to have on development within the city. When somebody starts to develop something out there and they don't have any fire protection, we've got to figure out how to get it done, and we've got to put them in front of it too. They got to spend some money to get there.
Any fire hydrants that TriSet puts in their system, all we can do is fill a tanker with a one right there. We can't hook a pumper to them because they'll collapse along the right.
But I will say this, some of those guys that are building out there, and you said we need to put a halt to it. I mean, some of these guys are guys that do development and work with us. I mean, if you just tell them all of a sudden, hey, you can't do anything, I mean, just out there, I mean, how much more is there developed out there? I mean, is Ricky planning on doing anything else out there? I'm not really interested in putting anybody in danger, but I'm not interested in telling everybody to stop doing any development either.
Right. I think that's why we need to, if that is our policy, we need to have a project to put a water line out there and some sewer also. We've got a lift station out there at the truck stop. And so if we need to bring some sewer across the highway and sewer some of those, we need to do it. Once we annex, we're supposed to put a plan together when we planned on putting services to it, and we've had it annexed and not done it, and we've charged them a lot of money to extend stuff up there. I know Ricky Baker's paid for a lot of it. We need to have a plan to extend it out, at least to the end of our city limits.
2016. And honestly, that's the issue. We're not trying to, I don't think the city's trying to say no development at all. We're just saying let's take a pause and say, what is the plan to get this water out there so we can get in front of it. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, and I mean, in the past, what we were just talking about, I mean, things have not been done correctly in the past, and obviously we're catching up. I like your plan for asking help from Tri-Water to if we can get some participation from them to help us get these things going, and in the meantime, we need to be looking at a plan to put in the water because they are wanting to build out there.
There's more to annexation than just grabbing land, grabbing the land, and that's something in the past that I was dealt with was, you grab the land, well, what have we got to offer to these people? And when are we going to do it?
That was my question. Once you did it, when did you plan to do so?
Well, you know what happened in 2017, the legislature changed and said basically almost took away the involuntary annexation. So that's why cities went out and grabbed the land in 2017. And then now that's exactly the story is that where are we, So the voluntary annexation has been what most cities are doing. They just, if you want it to come in, then we'll get services there when we can get that service plan says we'll get it there when we get it there. Basically, we'll try to do the best we can. It's a different deal, yeah.
But then most of them aren't wanting to come in until they're ready for the services. So
Last thing I got before you get out of here is this. We also have updated the thoroughfare plan. We've taken some of the things out. We tried to I was kind of rode out the city, and we looked in the consultant has taken a look at these roadways that we've got. What we're going to try to coordinate with right now we're doing a sort of an engineering design manual that talks about the road sections, and we're going to with KSA, but the consultant on the Kimberly Horn is going to go ahead and submit some road sections that correspond to what we have on this map. And then we'll talk to them and try to get that coordinated so that we'll have the same information on both sets in the manual and on this plan, and in the comprehensive plan, we'll have we'll depict those road sections that will go in there. They're in there now in the old plan. We want to make sure they don't necessarily absolutely correspond to what the subdivision ordinance says essentially. So we actually changed some of this. They had an outer loop on the old plan. That was one of the bigger things. We didn't really see the need that this outer loop didn't make a lot of sense in today's world. It might 50 years from now, but we didn't see if you see this map over here, you see this big outer loop. That outer loop didn't seem like it was really significant at this point, and it may be 50 years from now that outer loop might be something you build. That's kind of the old planning scheme. Dallas did it, when you start out in one loop and then you do another outer loop, and the suburbs get out there and you do another outer loop and you keep going. But it's not going to happen here for many, many years. So we just tried to simplify that and get the road connections that makes most sense. The only thing I will say that we did put on here, there's some areas here along the interstate. There's an area there that doesn't have frontage roads. I'm not sure you're aware of that area. We think we should go ahead and sort of say to TxDOT, we'd like to get some frontage roads on the north side, and that would help development on there. And also, no, it's not going to develop. It's a mistake not having those service roads over there, yeah.
Put that out there now because that may be something it takes 10 years to do, but that's something we definitely need to be working on for the next 20 years, I promise you, because otherwise that land out there is going to be sitting there, and we all get questions every day, why don't we develop out on our interstate? Why can't we? And a lot of times there's talking, I think, about out in those areas, they're coming in and going out. There's no roads there. There's no service road, no frontage.
I noticed that there's that one, I don't even know what that crossover there is up there where you cross over, but you have to go down that back road. I don't know what that's called. There's a bridge going across there. That's not 1001. It's some. And when you go up and through there, that it's just like, wow, this is kind of just not real good to try to connect that connection.
That road is awful anyway, and so what you're talking about on the service roads is both sides of the interstate from our industrial park all the way out to Big Tex, and I mean that would be all industrial development land out there. That's something we need to look at definitely for sure.
Well, that's one of the main recommendations on this thing to get this kind of going. So. Yes, it would be. Well, it would be. It would be. There may be some minimal city participation, but it'd be minimal. Yeah.
Things you could do to encourage it along is to agree to pay for the engineering if they'll come up with the funding to build it,
That's where we're at. I'm glad to answer any questions. We ought to be getting close to bringing stuff to you within the next 3 months. I think we 2 months.
Any other questions from the council? Questions, concerns for Robert? If not, we will come back to our regular meeting here at 6:30. We're adjourned.